It's 2 minutes till. I have questions. Pardon me? Are we good to go? Jenna, are we good to go?
Montana will give the final for that.
What's that? Oh.
Okay.
All right, it is 6 o'clock. I'll call the meeting of the City of Lincoln, regular meeting of the City of Lincoln Planning Commission for October 20 to order. We will be conducting tonight's meeting in person at City Hall. Members of the public may view and listen to the meeting live tonight on Channel 18 and online through the city's website, as noted on the agenda. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes. If you would like to leave a public comment now, please refer to the agenda for instructions. For those that are in person, please provide a speaker card request to the secretary, and you will be called to speak during the appropriate agendized time. So, Secretary, may I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Cross,
Present.
Commissioner Gilbert, Commissioner Hutchinson. Here. Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Manning,
Here.
Commissioner McKinney, and Vice Chair Lyons.
Present. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Took the flag with you. Oh, California. Yeah. That's not the one. I'm not. Okay. Item 4 on the agenda is agenda modification. Is there anyone on the commission or staff who wish to modify the agenda? Seeing none. Move to item 5, residents addressing the commission. Do we have any public comments? This is for items that are not on the agenda. Do we have any public comments for items that are not on the agenda? And I'll look for hands just in case. Seeing none, we will move on to item 6, disclosure of ex parte communication. We'll start on this end. Commissioner Cross.
I have had none.
Commissioner Manning.
I've had none.
Commissioner Hutchinson.
I have had none.
And I have also had none. Item 7 is the consent agenda. All matters on the consent agenda are considered routine business and enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of the Planning Commission or a resident requests a specific item be removed from the consent agenda for separate action. Any items removed will be considered after the remainder of the consent agenda. Do any of my colleagues wish to remove an item from the consent agenda? Seeing none, any staff and any public? Nothing. Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
A motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Manning,
Yes.
Commissioner Hutchinson,
Yes.
Commissioner Cross,
Yes.
and Vice Chair Lyons.
Yes. That takes us to item 8, public hearings. 8A is the Brothers Tap House conditional use permit, allowing for the on and off sale of alcohol at 2270 Nicholas Road, Suite 112. Staff report, please.
Thank you and good evening, Vice Chair Lyons and fellow commissioners. The Brothers Tap House submitted a conditional use permit application for the on and off sale of alcohol at 2270 Nicholas Road, Suite 112. The applicant is proposing to occupy a suite in the Nicholas Retail Center located at the northeast corner of Nicholas Road and Lakeside Drive. The current businesses within the center include restaurants, offices, and service uses. The property is zoned commercial and is surrounded by currently occupied single-family residential, with the exception of some of the area to the south that is currently under construction. The applicant is seeking a Type 42 alcoholic beverage control license, which, according to the common license types, are a bar tavern, and it authorizes the sale of beer and wine for consumption on or off the premises where sold. No distilled spirits may be on the premises, and minors are not allowed to enter and or remain. The proposed hours of the Brothers Tap House operation are from noon to 10 p.m. 7 days a week, with a total occupancy of 87 occupants and 78 fixed seats. No food sales are proposed and no outdoor seating is proposed. The on-site sale and consumption of alcohol may be permitted within commercial areas, subject to the issuance of a conditional use permit. Staff has researched the history of the project site and obtained ABC licensing information for the surrounding area. And currently there are a total of 6 active alcohol licenses within a 1-mile radius of the project site. The sale of alcoholic beverages may be permitted in commercial zones, provided the Planning Commission can make the required findings. And one in particular, that the finding that the use is not detrimental to the health, safety, peace, morals, comfort, and general welfare of nearby residents and property, or the general welfare of the city. If the CUP is approved, the applicant will be able to use the CUP to satisfy local clearance for the Department of Alcoholic Beverage Control purposes. At this time, staff does not anticipate any problems with the proposed use. Staff would recommend that the Planning Commission, following its review, act to approve the conditional use permit. The Planning Commission will need to review the application and conduct a hearing to receive public testimony regarding the request prior to taking action on the item. And let me see, I am here for any questions, if you have any.
Do any of the commissioners have questions for staff at this point?
No, you said it was beer and wine only. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And there's no outside seating proposed.
That is correct.
I just want to make sure of that. Okay.
So to follow up, are you done?
Yes.
Yeah, to follow up on that question about outside seating, if the establishment wanted to add outside seating in the future, would that be something they'd have to come to the commission for?
Yes, they would.
Thank you.
Good question.
Very good questions. Okay.
Just can't be backdoored.
And just so the commission is aware, as long as, we've been through this COVID period, so that is conditioned upon any governor's executive order that might allow that type of outdoor seating, as we've seen in the past.
Right.
So to clarify, if the governor allowed it because of COVID, then they would be able to do something outside like we see so many other restaurants do.
It would be able to do something by right pursuant to a governor's order.
Okay, thank you.
Would that order be specific about exactly where? In other words, front, back, or would that still be up to city's discretion?
It's really asking me to speculate. I can't tell
So it
you what a
depends, in other
future
words.
governor might dictate by way of an executive order.
Got it. Okay. I think that will cover our questions for now. I guess it's time then to open the public hearing. Secretary, who do we have on the list for the public hearing?
Steve Jacobs will be first.
My name is Steve Jacobs. I'm the owner of Brothers Tap House. Just to give a little background, I've been in Lincoln since 2005, living in the Foskett Ranch area. I've been part of the Junior Zebras Youth Football and Cheer Program for 16 years, president for 7. Currently serve as an advisor to their board. I'm also the vice commissioner for the Sierra Athletic Conference, which is in charge of the youth football and cheer leagues in the area. I'm currently president of the Fighting Zebras Football Booster Club at Lincoln High School. So I'm very much a part of the community and only seek to continue to enhance the community, offering a place for social gathering for adults only to enjoy craft beer, wine, and cider. So that is the main reason to open this, is just to provide a outlet on that part of Lincoln where there currently isn't an establishment like that. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Our next speaker.
Is Randy Walter.
Just started. Good evening. My name is Randy Walter. I've been a resident of Lincoln since 2001. I live on Foxglove Way, which is directly behind the strip mall. Am I allowed to submit anything to the commission? Ma'am, am I allowed to submit? What I'm providing the commission is some photographs of the back and front of the proposed site. Are they allowed to look at those or to view those? I have a second copy for myself. One of the questions I have is, what does it mean in the documents that the city provided, planning commission and resolution? It talks about what does propose, my question is, what does proposed mean in reference to outdoor seating, food, hours of operation, and the resolution in the planning commission document? Does this mean they can come back later and then seek to make longer hours, add food, and do the outdoor seating? A question I had for the commission, because I didn't understand that part of it. Real quick, just to clarify, it talks also in the documents that they're wanting to have their establishment run from noon to 10, which is consistent with the other businesses. I don't know what were approved for, but I know that Via Roma closes at 9. Subway closes at 9. The cafe closes. They do breakfast, lunch only. And the gas station, Old Tire Mart, which is not part of the strip mall, it's on a separate property, completely detached. They close at 10 Monday through Thursday, and they're open till 11 Friday through Saturday to sell gas in this neighborhood grocery store. It also talks about in the documents that there was a review done by the Lincoln Police Department or somebody in the police department about crimes in the area. I can tell you that the dispatchers probably know me because I've called so many times. We've had issues with people throwing trash over our backyard into our pool. We had a person that was high on drugs or alcohol, attempted to climb over my neighbor's fence as well as mine, and I knocked him off and called the police. He was arrested. I witnessed 2 people having sex behind the building on that same side down there. Lincoln PD was called. They were arrested and prosecuted. Other people using drugs actually right behind where this proposal is. And people, I've had contacted Lincoln PD, and actually there's a photograph attached of one of the most recent one, which was October 2nd, which is right next to where the proposal is for this business. It was a woman doing some drugs. Lincoln PD was called and she was given a ticket, told to leave. So we've And a lot of homeless. I've kicked homeless people out of there. I've contacted Link PD to kick homeless people out of there. We've had a big problem back there in the back of the building. The point I'm trying to make is if they're allowed to do a patio area, maybe not now, but proposed means they're going to be able to come back and do this. It's just going to bring even more problems. We already have a breezeway with patios, and we've had people sleeping in there, doing the drugs, drinking alcohol in there.
Mr. Walter, your time is up.
Can I take somebody else's time?
No.
Well, my point is, I don't,
Your time's up. Thank you.
thank you.
Next, we have Alfonso and Jeannie Ramirez.
Is there any way, can we give them maybe like a little warning, like the little light thing was, so people have a chance to possibly wrap up their comments versus just shutting them off? Thank you.
Does that not,
If it's not working, maybe we can just give them a verbal like warning that they to start wrapping.
problem is they can't see it from behind the podium. Can we move that out so that they could see it?
On the screen. See it.
Oh, you can see it there? Okay.
Yeah. Well, good afternoon. My name is Alfonso Ramirez and I live on Hardy Court. And my concern with this is I can't believe anybody thought that it's a great idea to open a bar in our backyards. My concern, and through past experience with other businesses that have been there before, is the loitering. Even though a business might close at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, my experience has been that people hang out. They don't go straight home. They don't go to their cars and leave. They chit chat, they socialize. And like other people here, I've also called the police with noise complaints. Now, I'm a peace officer. I work out in Folsom, and I got to be at work by 5:30 every morning. So I get up fairly early and I go to bed early. And I don't want to deal, and again, going by past experience, people hanging out. And my concern is they can't smoke in there either. Where are they going to smoke? They'll come out to the parking lot, have their smokes, have their conversations. It might not be their intent to be loud, but when it's night, when things are dying down, sound carries. I can hear people, I can hear conversations. I hear people turning their cars on, radios blaring. It's just a nuisance. It's a noise nuisance. And with my concern, like I said, I got to get up early. I go to bed early. And I'm afraid that this will impact my health and my safety, not getting a proper rest. Sometimes I get held over at work. I work a 16-hour shift. I'm tired when I come home. I would like to rest, re-energize myself, but sometimes it's hard with the noise. And again, my concern is the safety also of our neighborhood. I know nobody here can guarantee me that everybody's going to behave, everybody's going to be courteous, nobody's going to raise a ruckus. Nobody can guarantee me that. And I'll close it out here. Those are my concerns. It's mostly the noise and people hanging out. And there's a dumpster right in back of my house. I hear that constantly with the other businesses throwing their trash, slamming the metal doors, or if they don't secure the doors, I hear it banging all throughout the night, especially if it's a windy, rainy night like we're about to get into here shortly in the weather. It's just, I don't think that's the proper venue for a place to sell alcohol in a residential neighborhood. People work, we got children, they go to school, they get up early also. I have a dog. Any noise outside will set him off. He'll start barking. It goes on and on. I've done a little research. I looked at other similar establishments in Auburn, Lincoln.
Your time's up though, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. I just would like to remind my colleagues, in a public hearing, our job is to hear the public and not, and having our own side conversations makes that difficult. Next person, please.
I believe it's Jason Noonan.
Hello, my name's Jason Noonan, and I'm actually here to show support for the opening of the Tap House. I've been a resident in Lincoln for 20 years, and I actually live in that area as well, just a little bit further. Well, just directly, the neighborhood directly behind it, but for 20 years I lived within half a mile of it. I also am a teacher in Western Placer for the last 23 years. I bring that up because of some of the fundraising and coaching things that we get parents together for. But one reason I think it's really important is for years, if anybody wanted to watch a game, get together with friends, have a drink, it's like the 12 Bridges area was kind of the only place that you could do it for a long time. And then recently downtown is opened up a little more, but on our side of town, I think everybody can see it's exploding, and there's so many housing developments going in, and there's a lot of needs that we have on that side, and a lot of different things that we could have open. And I think this is one place that I think our community would love, and it would give people a chance to, have a good time and hang out. And like I said, there's been in different organizations, my kids play sports too. We'd had fundraisers at different places, and I kind of envision this place being supportive like that with a lot of things that sports and different organizations around town. But I just think it's really important for our side of town to start getting some of the things that the rest of the city is. So that's it.
Thank you.
Acting Chair Lyons, if I may, I've been advised to just remind those who are coming up to speak before the commission that this is being telecast and recorded. So if they don't mind speaking closer to the mic.
Should I repeat that, or do you think they heard it? I think they heard it, but thank you. Yes, I'll try to remember to encourage them to do that as well. Next speaker.
Jason Lenneberg.
Hello? Do you hear me? All right. Yeah, I've been a resident with Lincoln for the last 16 years now. I too, along with Randy and Alfonso, my house actually backs up to this facility. If you look at the photo on the top there, that measurement is 16 feet from my house. So we're talking about 16 foot to the back of that facility. And when I look at the health and safety, I've got the picture up top. I've got my son's window viewing outside into the Tap House. I'm trying to raise two young kids. Actually, they're gentlemen now, teenagers, trying to guide them into the right path. And a residence less than, if you look at that, again, 16 feet, less than 20 feet away from my back window of my son's room is the Tap House, of him viewing people obviously consuming alcohol. So I've taught them, to make smart decisions. But again, my concern is what that's going to bring. I can, when we talk about 6 different businesses within a mile radius, there's plenty of businesses, Slice Pizza here or Slice Brewery here. I enjoy having the microbrew myself personally, and but I don't want it in my backyard. You can see the wall it's 5 foot tall. I was actually the person that seen the person, the individual there shooting up drugs in her neck in the back area as I was playing cornhole with my son in the backyard. So my fear is, again, with the health and safety of my family. I work nights for Tykert. Been working there 16 years. I'm a safety manager, regional safety manager. And again, I went to Infusion Tap Room. I went to Slice. I enjoy it, but it's not in my backyard. So again, I appreciate your guys' consideration. And when you're viewing these pictures, and your guys' if you guys have any kids or grandkids, again, is that something that you would want them looking at on a daily basis? So Thank you for your time.
Next speaker.
Cassandra Walter.
I'm Cassandra Walter. I also live right behind the Nicholas Retail Center. Our house backs up to the breezeway.
Could I ask you to take the mic a little closer to your mouth?
Might help if I take
Yeah,
the
that-
mask off too.
You're far enough from people. I think that's.
Thank you. Our house backs up to the retail center and we're situated right in the breezeway. Our backyard's right in the breezeway. We've had several proposals over the last few years regarding alcohol sales in the Nicholas Retail Center, and we've come to the meetings each time to address our concerns. The breezeway acts as an amplifier of noise. So noise is a huge concern. We cannot enjoy sitting in our family room at night if there are people in that breezeway just having normal conversation. We can hear every single word. We have to close our windows and our doors and turn up the TV to drown the noise out. So noise is a huge concern for us. Our back wall is 20 feet from the back of the Nicholas Retail Center. So space here is a big issue, which is our concern for having businesses that have outdoor dining or outdoor activities because it amplifies the noise. That's one. And we're proposing to have them open until 10 o'clock at night. And as the previous speaker said, people linger. We have a hard time getting to sleep at night with all the noise. We are also impacted by the possibility of brighter lighting coming in to light up the space if they were to have outdoor business, because that lights up our bedrooms like bright daylight. And that just doesn't seem to be fair to us, to put us out of, to make us change the decor in our homes to accommodate the retail center. We also are concerned with, along with drinking, a lot of folks like to smoke either cigarettes or cigars when they're drinking, and I have allergies, and that would also impact me. We don't have any real concerns about bringing new businesses into the retail center, but we'd like them to have a more respectable fit with the community since we are so close to that building. The past business that was proposed to go in was the liquor store, and we came in and basically for all the same reasons, we presented our concerns, and that business did not wind up going in for many of these reasons. The additional crime that happens behind the house that we witness almost every morning. Well, not every morning, but quite often. So just wanted to let you know, those are our concerns. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Jamie Ramirez.
Hello, my name is Jeannie Ramirez. I live on Hardy Court.
Could I ask you to get as close as
Yes.
you can? to
There you
Jeannie
go.
Ramirez, and I live on Hardy Court. I am also very concerned about the noise. As my husband had mentioned, he's in law enforcement and sometimes is required to work double shifts. It's very difficult to sleep with the noise. I recently just started, well, since COVID, I work from home, and sometimes I'll take calls or go in my backyard to do reading. And if there's people chatting or hanging out, I just feel like that would be a disruption to my work and to just enjoying my backyard. So, like I said, I oppose this proposition. I don't think this area is appropriate for that type of business. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Jacob Marshall.
Good evening, I'm Jacob Marshall. I am a City of Lincoln employee for the past 17 years. I was also owner of Infusion Tap Room that is on 6 years and running strong. I'm really in favor of the tap room being there. It brings a lot more than just, I guess, background noise as far as drugs being in there. For me, I'm hands-on. Steve is also hands-on. A lot of the stuff that has been happening in the back, it sounds like, will not happen. There'll be people in its presence. What comes to the tap room is just great people like yourselves, just kind of having that wind down day, having a couple beers and going home. It's not a bar. It's not a bar scene. We don't have bar crowds. We don't have at the tap room. We may have a couple people smoke, but that's it. People are there just to catch up with some friends, hang out, and then go home. It's not there to hang out, be 21 and drink and see how long we can stay out all night long and be loud. That's not what I want from the tap room at all. And that's what will not be happening at Brothers. And so it just, I understand everybody's perspective, but that's not what goes on. If they haven't been to the tap room, then they haven't been to the tap room. It's a different atmosphere. It's a different scene. It's just not a ruckus crowd. I know that there's places in town that bring that environment. That doesn't happen up at 12 Bridges at all. And so that will not happen down there. And so with that, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Is it Sam Moreau?
My name is Sam Moreau. I live at 2221 Foxglove Way. My property actually goes from the corner of the end of that strip mall all the way to the breezeway. I've been there for 20 years, the only owner, and I've seen businesses come and go. I've experienced trash over my wall. I've experienced people out there I can see from any one of my windows. I can see the entire back. And I've seen the kids skateboarding, playing. I've seen people doing drugs, people having sex. There are a number of different things that happen back there. No one can promise me that those things will not go on. When the business closes, like my neighbor said, people hang around. People do things. No one can promise that unless you're going to have the place policed, 24/7. We have called. I share all the sentiments with my neighbors. I've been there, as I said, before the mall even was built, I was there. So we saw it all from ground up, and we've experienced everything. Having a business in a residential area, that type of business in a residential area, it's not needed. That's a city business. That's for in town. People come into town, enjoy themselves, and go back home. Not behind my house, behind my neighbor's house, not to experience the things that we experience on a daily basis, the noise. Currently, there's a fan in the pizzeria that runs till 10 o'clock at night. If I sit on my patio, I hear that it has the worst hum. I can't even sit out there comfortably because it's running all day long. I appreciate the fact that someone is trying to make a living doing something, but it's not for the residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more speaker cards?
I have no further cards.
Is there anyone in the audience who is desiring to speak at this point? No, thank you. Sorry. You've had your chance. We've heard you. Is there anyone online that is waiting or has a hand raised?
Do not have any hands raised, no.
Okay, we'll give it just a few seconds in case they weren't aware they needed to raise their hand. Anything happening? Nope. Going once, going twice. Okay. Closing the public hearing, bringing it back up to the commission for questions and comments.
And Chair Lyons, I just wanted to, because we do have an audience online, I wanted to make sure the Planning Commission was aware that Public Safety Chief Alves is online. If
Good.
there are any questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Are there any others besides Rob and the chief? Okay. I think I'll start at this end. Commissioner Hutchinson. I think your mic is not on.
Because the chief is online, could he speak to us regarding current grievances? I know that the restaurant Via Roma has been there about 18 months, perhaps. I've been to that restaurant and I'm trying to visualize this. I'm going to call it an alleyway or this land area that goes between. Does it run the entire length of this the shopping area, and then the wall is there and these homes are there? I guess what I'm saying is do we have a current serious problem now with the current businesses, including the restaurant that's there? I'd be interested in knowing that.
Sure. So thank you for the opportunity. What I did was I ran our incidents from 2019 to present, and at the address 2270 to 2290 Nicholas Road, which encompasses that strip, there were 19 calls for service during that time. Some of the incidents that the speakers mentioned, we have those logged. The individual that was injecting drugs a few days ago, we have that, and it's mainly noise complaints, another noise complaint, a couple drug activities, a couple arguments, a fight. So that's kind of what we're looking at since the beginning of 2019.
Thank you. Yeah, there's
Okay. Commissioner Manning.
Can anybody talk on what was there before? How long that spot's been vacant? Anybody know that? It's been vacant.
Commissioner Manning, Rob Perch. I'd say, I think one of the gentlemen spoke and he said it was approximately 20 years. And that commercial site was actually larger. So the area that's known as, I believe, Foxglove was previously proposed as commercial. So that commercial site has actually shrunk since the time that it was approved through the Lincoln Air Center General Development Plan area. So what happened was, yes, the property shrunk, residences were built, and then for the longest time, that site was vacant. So even the corner used to be a Tower Mart. Now I believe it's a Chevron. So what happened was Tower Mart came in, they started developing, then the adjacent property owner came in and they started developing. So it was a time after that those homes were built that the commercial came, which typically happens in these kinds of situations.
Thank you for that. I think what I'm trying to understand is, has there been a business in that location?
Sorry.
For a while, or has it been vacant for a long time?
I think that end
What's the
cap
occupancy in that?
I think the end cap location where Brothers Tap House is proposed to go, I don't believe there have been any businesses within that specific location.
So it's been quite a while.
Yeah, if not, it's been quite a while. And if there was a business in there, it wasn't alcohol related business.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner, I want to just call you Peter Gilbert.
Peter will do. Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I want to apologize to my colleagues for being late. I was going to take this call at home. You can see I'm very casually dressed with very comfortable shoes on. When I got a call from somebody from staff that we didn't have a quorum here. So I quickly got in my car, and as I was on my way here, I found out that Tony showed up just before time to start. You'd have a quorum, but I decided I'd come to the meeting anyway.
Glad you came anyway.
And further to that, I apologize for talking with my colleague but he was bringing me up to date where we were on the agenda. And I was surprised that you got through so much of it in a very short period of time.
There wasn't much there.
I have a couple questions for staff, and I'd like you to be specific if you can. What is the zoning for this particular application?
Commercial.
And under the commercial zoning in Lincoln, would this be an acceptable usage if they met whatever criteria would be laid out by the city?
As long as the planning commission can make the findings that a conditional use permit is an appropriate use in this area.
How long has a property been zoned commercial?
Since the onset of the Lincoln Air Center General Development Plan, I want to say it was approved in the early 90s.
That's what I thought. It was quite a few years before I went on the city council in 12. So basically, kind of clear the air. If someone comes before the city and proposes to build anything, and the zoning supports that, and all of the needs of the city, from both the staff, the attorney, planning commission, if necessary, city council are met, it really is not anybody's job to turn down that, correct? And if so, I'd like to know under what conditions it would be a prerogative to turn down a valid application that meets the criteria.
I'm going to toss that one over to the city attorney.
I knew you were.
Basically, the role of the planning commission is to ensure that the findings necessary to approve a conditional use permit are met. So if all findings are met, then it would be the role of the commission to approve a project that's conditionally permitted in the commercial zone. The discretion is whether or not those findings have been met or not.
Certainly. Okay. Thank you very much. You've certainly answered my question, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Cross.
Thank you. And again, apologize for talking while they were giving us information. I was trying to bring them up to date. I apologize.
I just want the public to know it's our intent to hear them.
Right. And we weren't going off in another direction. So thank you. I have a pretty great deal of personal experience with tap rooms. My son and his partner own one that they have had for 4 years in San Luis Obispo in a residential/commercial area. And contrary to what some people seem to believe, in actuality, I have found that they've been great neighbors in their area. A lot of the people that live and work in that area will stop by after work for a glass of beer, a glass of wine, and go home. Again, they're the same way. No food. Well, they have some chips and things, but just beer and wine. And they've been very successful, and it's not a problem. I remember when the Tower Mart was proposed for this area, we had people lined up for over an hour in here complaining about the fact that it was going to be so horrible that they sold alcohol and people were going to be hanging around drunk and being a problem. And since that has gone in, I never heard about it again. So I respect and appreciate people's concern of what might happen. But my opinion is that with people shooting drugs, having sex, making noise behind the wall because the business is empty, would this having a business there would help that go away, as stated by one of the gentlemen here. So I think part of the problem that you're experiencing now would be removed by the presence of the tap house and understand that the people that are going to be customers of a place like that, neighborhood bars, neighborhood meeting places, neighborhood places to have a glass of beer or wine have been traditional in this country for hundreds of years, a couple hundred years. You say, well, it should all be downtown and you go there. I would rather have it a block from my house where I could walk down, have a glass of beer, a glass of wine, talk to a couple of neighbors, and walk home rather than having to get in a car and drive across town to do the same thing. So I'm just in listening to the reasons why we should not have a tap house there. Just what has come to my mind is so many more reasons why we should have one. I think every argument has a counter argument, and as long as they're within the legal ramifications of what it takes to be there and are managing their business properly, they don't want to have people making noise and causing trouble, and because that drives people away. A business like this needs to be quiet and welcoming so that people want to come in and stay, visit their neighbors, visit their friends, and then go home. And I don't think having it there causes any loitering. If you've got restaurants and a store and other businesses there, are people loitering around those businesses? It doesn't seem to be an issue, and I don't know why they'd loiter around this business. So I heard the arguments. I want people to know that argued against it. I heard every word that you said. I heard all the reasons that you gave. I just happened to personally, because of my personal experience and trying to look at this thing from 10,000 feet, disagree with those concerns and think that this business in this location will probably solve more problems than it will cause. And I think it would be an excellent thing to have in our neighborhood. And I'm a potential customer. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Cross. I have a few questions for staff. I remember, and I actually wish I could have found the records of this, but I remember a few years ago, I want to say it was probably 4 years ago, 5 years ago, that there was an application for a liquor store that I believe is in the same complex. Can staff speak to my accuracy of my memory on that?
Longer than that.
Has it been longer than
A
that?
little bit longer.
Let me look for it real quick. So if you want to continue, I can pull it up and tell you what exact year it was. It was a application for a liquor store called Bourbons and More.
Right.
So give me just 1 second.
I remember that hearing well, because it was one of the more lively hearings we've had, one of the more controversial. And I was a dissenting vote, but the commission voted to not approve the conditional use permit for that liquor store. I remember the staff recommended not approving that conditional use permit, and yet this time the staff is recommending approval. And I'm wondering what in the staff's mind makes the difference as to why this one they're recommending and the other one they recommended against.
I'll take a shot at that because of the type of license, the type of product being sold, and the concentration of offsite sales in that location, all combined, provided staff's recommendation for denial because it was not all on-site licenses allow for offsite sales, but it's predominantly purpose of an on-site license is for on-site consumption. And this being a beer garden of beer and wine and cider. Whereas the general alcohol offsite sales, in effect, a liquor store provides only for offsite consumption of hard spirits and associated beverages. And we had a location immediately adjacent to the site that provided that service. So having that within walking distance of each other was one of the factors that brought us toward the conclusion that it was an inappropriate location.
Okay. Rob, you back?
I concur exactly with what Steve said. It was April of 2016 that the commission denied the application for bourbons and more.
Okay.
In fact, if I could,
Yes,
that ended up before the city council as well.
help me remember, why did it go before the city council?
Because it got turned down by.
They were appealing our decision?
They appealed it up to the city council. And I was just one council person at the time, but from the comments that were made at the time, there were a lot of things surrounding that application. Hard liquor, and there were several other places serving hard liquor. They were renting space from another user that was in a business that could cause some issues with liquor right next to it. And I can't go into details about this, but one of the applicants testified before the city council inebriated. And that
He
helped
did
turn
before
off
us.
the city council, I think, more than any other issue at that time.
Yeah, he did before the planning commission as well. I recall
Yeah.
that.
I
fact-
didn't really want to say that, but I think we need to understand if that was turned down by the planning commission and then the city council and the staff, all of the reasons why.
And I was going to share that information as well. I want to make sure everyone has the big picture of the differences and the comparisons. I don't want this to be a siloed secret decision. I want everyone to hear all of every side. So you're out of order, sir. Thank you. You've had your time. A question for the city attorney. One of the findings is the commission will be required to make findings that the proposed use with appropriate conditions will not be detrimental to the health, safety, peace, morals, comfort, and general welfare of persons residing or working in the neighborhood or injurious to property and improvements in the neighborhood. Is there a legal definition for those terms of health, safety, peace, morals, comfort, general welfare?
It's all very factually specific. And so those would be findings that this commission would have to make in order to deny this application for a CUP. You would have to make specific findings that, in fact, this use would be injurious to the health, safety, welfare, property values, and those would be factual determinations that you as a commission would have to make. I can't, every case that has ever come down on this is very fact specific. So there's not a real easy Black's Law dictionary definition to give to you. Unfortunately, that's why you guys get paid the big bucks.
Yeah, like we get paid big bucks. But you made a good point that it would need to be a factual finding that one of these things would be detrimental. So the possibility or the fear or the chance is not a fact. It's a possibility, but it's not a fact, correct?
Correct. It would have to be a factual finding, not mere speculation. And I would also note that the statement within our ordinance and that we're talking about is health, safety, and there's a typo. It talks about peaches. I'm not really sure what that is, but health, safety, and morals, comfort, and general welfare of persons residing in the neighborhood and improvements in the neighborhood or to the general welfare of the city. So there's an and then an or. So with respect to the and findings, you would have to make a finding as to each of those statements.
Not to any one of them, but to all of them collectively.
To all of them, it's a collective.
Thank you. I appreciate that clarification of the legal wording. And I know this is confusing to people, and that's why I wanted to get that interpretation. Trying to think if there are any other questions that I have not had answered. I find, well, first off, many of the comments that I heard tonight were about having outdoor seating and selling food. Neither of those is before us tonight. So if that does come before us in the future, we will definitely hear it again. But that is not before us tonight. What's before us is a tap room with indoor seating. And we don't have control over the governor, but we can do what we can do. I tend to concur with Commissioner Cross's perspective that the vacant spaces cause more urban blight than a place being occupied and functional. There are people owning it, taking responsibility for it. They have to repair, they pay money to be there, they repair damage if there is any. It reflects on their reputation, et cetera. So I think having something there is better than having it vacant by quite a bit. I do think there are clear differences with the liquor store, and even in the liquor store case, against my feelings about one of the applicants, I actually voted against the rejection. In other words, I voted to approve it at that point, which some of the residents probably recall and probably don't like me for. But that's one of the difficult things of this job, is making decisions based on the law and the findings that the law requires, not based on what I feel. There have been many businesses in Lincoln that have come for conditional use permits that I do not approve of what the business does. I don't want to name them, but I can think of at least 3 cases off the top of my head that I would not go to that business. I would not encourage anyone to go to that business. I would try to discourage them. But I had, by law, to vote to approve the conditional use permit because they met the conditions of the law and of the city zoning. And that's where I am, in my opinion, today. So, yes, sir.
When everybody's finished.
I was the last speaker. You can have the next floor.
Let me indicate why I asked the questions that I did. In my almost 50 years in public service as a member of many committees, commissions, and 2 city councils in different parts of the state, I'm a firm believer in property rights. Property rights of the people who are the applicant tonight, property rights of the people who are here that live near the property, or even if they live far away, to come before a public forum and express your opinions. But we also have this in mind. I asked the question, and a lot of things have been settled in court, based thousands of cases in court based on my question. When was this shopping center approved? The answer we heard from staff was in the 90s. I haven't lived here that long. I've only been here short of 20 years, but from working in the city, I believe it predates any of the homes that were built out there or any of the homeowners that live out there. And now comes the rule. When you buy a piece of property, you better check and find out what can happen on your left, on your right, behind you, across the street. Because lo and behold, if you don't do that, eventually somebody may propose something that fits the law, and they have property rights. They paid money and went through the process to get approved, and their rights have to be protected as well. So there's a commercial company, I don't know who they are, that owns this shopping center, and they have a tenant proposed now to come into this space. And as our chair said earlier, Sometimes I have voted for things that I personally got in trouble when I got home because my wife doesn't think we should have it here in Lincoln. But I did it because the law says you cannot turn down somebody that meets, as you said earlier, the letters of the law. And so with that in mind, it will be my intention to approve this. Now, it should be also noted that we need to police this. And this needs to be policed not by our police department. They can't be everywhere. It's small now. Hopefully sometime in the future, our police department will be bigger. But I lived in a city where there were 30,000 people and 50 sworn policemen. They couldn't be everywhere, even though it was large compared to the size. It will be up to the residents to police it. And if things happen often enough, permits can be pulled. And I sat on a city council once where we were within 15 minutes of pulling the permit of a restaurant bar that was very, very successful, but was a noise problem for the neighbors, and they wouldn't address it. And we were going to pull their permit and shut them down. And the vote was going to be 5-0 when they finally said, okay, we'll do all those things. We'll spend the $25,000. This is 40 years ago, so it's a lot of money to fix all of those. And we said, you make those residents that live there happy, and then you continue to have your use permit. So I want to assure everybody that's here that if there are any major or even minor problems that start creating issues for the residents or any other businesses in that area, you need to let us know. And whether it's a police activity or something from the staff, we're going to address it. And Lincoln has been doing that for the better part of 20 years that I've lived here. So that's my position on this matter. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Chair Lyons, I got a quick question.
Yes.
We addressed the dining. They'd have to come back to the planning commission if they want to do outdoor dining. What about hours of operation? Would the hours of operation to 10 o'clock be in this permit, the conditional use permit, or would that be loose?
It is condition number 6. The hours of operations are provided as part of their conditions. Any modification to extend those would require coming before the planning commission to modify the condition of approval. They can always shorten them.
Right. Okay. Thank you. And just one point I want to make, that we often hear about the law and that this commission has to follow only the law, and that the law is so specific. If it was so specific, we wouldn't be here. We would open up a book, it'd say it right there, and we'd be done. That it's all only about facts. What's the health and safety and welfare of the community? It's facts. That's not fact, that's opinion. The word morals is used in it. Morals is, there's no factual moral. Morals are opinion. What may be moral to me may not be morally appropriate to you. We're here to give our opinion. Let's not kid that. And that's why we have a committee, and that's why people bring it up, so that the people that are appointed to this can look at something and give their opinion based on the facts that they have, the way they feel about it. So I'm glad. Thank you for answering all the questions. And I know where I sit on the issue. Thank you.
Any other commissioner questions or comments? Okay, and I guess I better pull up the motion so I can make this legal and right. And my laptop went to sleep. Pardon me, one moment. Okay, so the resolution before us will be resolution 2021-33, a resolution approving a conditional use permit for the on-site consumption of beer, wine, and cider, and off-site sale of beer, wine, and cider at Brothers Tap House located at 2270 Nicholas Road, Suite 112 on APN 319-120-043. Property owners, property owner Ethan Conrad, applicant Stephen Jacobs. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
I'm going to give that one to Peter. Can we take yours as a second?
That'd be fine.
All right, roll call, please.
Commissioner Gilbert,
Yes.
Commissioner Hutchinson,
Yes.
Commissioner Cross,
Yes.
Commissioner Manning,
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons.
Yes. And I want to thank the public for coming out and expressing your perspectives. I want to state again, it is our job to hear you. We did hear you. We don't always have findings that agree with you, and I'm sorry, but I do agree with what Commissioner Gilbert said. Please report things that are not lawful, and if those things can be tied to the particular business, conditional permits can be pulled. That's why it's called a conditional use permit. So thank you very much. All right, that brings us to item 9, general business. There isn't any on my agenda. Item 10, commissioner comments. I'll start with Commissioner Cross again.
Oh, I'd just like to thank both you and Commissioner Manning for the clarifications on what our job is. You both made valid points that I think we need to be reminded of now and then. And thank you both.
At all? Thank you. Commissioner Gilbert.
No comment. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Manning.
Yeah, I just want to say it's nice to be back here, having a real meeting, and it's good to see everybody and actually hear us speak rather than online. I think that's the way business needs to be done. So let's make America great and keep doing these great things.
Amen. Commissioner Hutchinson.
I will echo Commissioner Manning and Commissioner Gilbert, all of your comments. I agree. It's good to be back.
I agree. It's great to be back. Great to see faces. I do have one question for the staff, and this is an interpretation, not a judgment. So I hope the city attorney doesn't get after me, but I'm sure she'll stop us if I go awry. But I just want to understand the process and how it relates to what we did tonight. I've recently became aware of the Speakeasy Tap Room down in the downtown area. And I don't remember that coming to before us for a conditional use permit. And I'm wondering why we were approving a conditional use permit for a tap room here, but we didn't have to do one for that.
Great question.
Good question. A name is not just a name. That location was previously the Old Town Pizza site with a full restaurant and kitchen. The Speakeasy Tap Room in the downtown has a full kitchen, is licensed as a restaurant. And per a recent code change recommended for approval by the Planning Commission and adopted by City Council, restaurants that sell beer and wine only are not subject to conditional use permits anymore.
I remember us going through that. So this is a side effect of that recommendation from the commission. Thank you.
Can I ask a follow-up to that? If they had served food, the applicant tonight, would then they not have to worry about a conditional use permit?
They would have to have a bona fide eating establishment licensed by the County Department of Health and provide a menu at all times to qualify for the license that would have allowed them not to be here.
Interesting. Thank you.
I might say the council went along with that recommended by staff because it had been adopted in other cities, so they could speed up the process because it takes forever to get anything through and get it approved. And so but they had to meet all of that criteria, which probably answers a lot of the concerns that you might have. Not all the concerns, but many of the concerns you would have as a citizen of the city.
I'm glad I asked because that's actually not the answer I expected. I expected it to be grandfathered because we approved the location. But it's really really helpful to know the downstream consequences of decisions and things that we make. So that's great. Thank you. I have nothing else. So that brings us to 11, informational items from staff.
And just briefly, I would like to bring the commission up to speed on where we are in our city manager recruitment. So we have closed the recruitment process. The city council has worked with our recruiter, and there are, I think, 6 or 7 very, I will say, highly qualified candidates that have been advanced by city council for a first round of interviews. Those are scheduled mid-November. I want to say the 12th or 13th, somewhere around there. So they will be going through a first round of interviews, and they will then be reducing the panel to maybe 3 or 4, 2 or 3, and it's at the discretion of council for a final round of interviews. But so I just wanted to bring you up to speed on that, and that staff is very excited about the quality and caliber of candidates that we have in the pool that is coming before your council.
I don't suppose that list of candidates is public information.
It is absolutely not public information.
That's closed session stuff. Yeah. All right.
Plus it protects the candidates.
Oh, yeah, I totally get it.
Trouble with their current boss.
But it never hurts to ask. All right. Was that it for the staff? All right. Well, that brings us to item 12, adjournment. If I have no objections, we are adjourned. I love having a gavel again.